Well, I'm delighted to be continuing the Understanding Your Pets series, and it's also really merging into the Innovation in Partnership series by talking today with Taavi Tamkivi, who is the founder and chief executive of Salv. Salv have got media coverage recently for the launch of the AML Bridge pilot in Estonia, which is seeking to bring together collaborative analytics capability between Estonian banks. Taavi, delighted you can talk us through this project today.
Thank you for inviting me, and super happy to be here to share my knowledge and learning so far that we have done.
Fantastic. Well, maybe you could just talk us through, what you've established and what you're actually doing with the AML Bridge.
Yes, I'm happy to do so. So I will maybe show you some slides also that I prepared to illustrate our work. So just to give you a bit of background how we interpret and talk about pet technologies to our partners in the banking and government side. Think about in these days, like almost each country in Europe is using their own coronavirus detection app, which basically it works in a way that it will tell me that my phone will tell me that I've been close to some corona people, or like people who have had some corona, and it doesn't tell me who this person was and what was the ID or name or where I met them, but they just get the anonymous hint that I was close to someone who had infection. And ultimately, at least here in Estonia, this app is called Hoia, and it's working on the pet technology. It's hiding all the privacy information that's not necessary. And in the AML space, like if we would use the same technology, just imagine that in the bank, you get the message from some other bank randomly saying that we know that you have a criminal in your network or in your bank, but we cannot tell you who this person is. So obviously in the banking world, this kind of level of anonymity doesn't work, and banks need to know more personal data than this pure corona apps. And basically we split this task into three pieces. First of all, we need to resolve the security questions to protect banks' data from the third-party attackers. Then there's privacy concerns. In order for us as a consumers and companies, banks need to keep our private data safe, and they shouldn't share without a good reason. And thirdly, we need to be compliant with all the AML requirements and regulations. And that's why we're not talking about privacy enhancing technology per se, but actually the wider product, which is using privacy enhancing components. And how it works is that just imagine there are three parties in the game. There is a reporting institution, there is a connecting bridge in the middle, and then there is a receiving information who might get some useful data from the sender. And what it does is that reporting information filters out first information which might be interesting for the others. Let's say that there are some potential criminals that this first reporting institution filters out and submits into the bridge, which is the connecting part. Bridge is doing mainly the role is to do, in one hand, to encrypt the data and decrypt later on, but then also like to put together the reporting institution's data and the requesting institution's data, so that if there is a match between the reporter and requester, this match will be identified and reported. But the bridge itself in the middle don't see anything about the personal IDs or what they have been doing. They just see encrypted information and some hints or flags about this. And when this bridge puts data together, then this receiving institution gets hints about only those customers that are common with the reporter. So they don't get the full blacklisted names or all the suspicious customers that were reported by the original bank, but actually they get only the common matches. And how we apply this, there are several use cases. We have mapped out more than 10 use cases, but now we focus on the most obvious ones, like relatives and the related close associates, like RCA use case. And just imagine there is a criminal network which is spreading their money between different banks. And there is a politically exposed person, Peter, and it has a lawyer, James, which is RCA. And like only one bank out of the network has found out that this James is a close associate of the Peter, and no one else has picked it up yet. So this one bank reports this information into the Bridge platform, and the Bridge, based on this previously submitted requests by the other banks, is sending hints or passing on these hints to the other banks that, hey guys, this your customer James is an RCA of politician Peter, and that's new information for these banks 2 and 3 and 4, based on what they can run enhance the due diligence on James.
So if I can just summarize that, so the group of banks have obviously contributed data on an encrypted basis to the Bridge. The Bridge has been able to identify where there are potential matches in accounts, but the Bridge doesn't have access to the personal identifying information. And then when one of the banks declares that their customer is an RCA, any other bank that has that same customer is alerted to the fact that another bank in the network has identified their customer as an RCA. Is that right?
Exactly. So like one feature or functionality of the Bridge is to bring these points together without seeing what is the inside of these points or data requests. And the other point is that it has a certain level of intelligence built in. So it remembers that banks 2, 3, and 4 wanted to get notification once Bridge gets hint about the specific person. So it's not it pushes the information only if someone has asked it even before. So that's like the memory that the Bridge is keeping there as well.
Yeah, perfect.
So that's the product approach we have built up, and the particular use case that we're working on. But that's not enough to run the whole information exchange in one country successfully. And we have built up a public-private partnership organization which is working on daily and weekly basis. And what we do is that we started with a number of banks who wanted to participate in the pilot. And we put this Bridge technology in the middle of these banks. Then we realized that actually around these banks, there are many other authorities who need to be involved. So we're speaking with local FSA in order to assure that from AML regulator point of view, everything is kosher and good. We are speaking with Data Protection Agency because they are looking after the GDPR and Bank Secrecy Act. So they are ensuring that the whole technology we're using and use cases we're exchanging are meeting actually those regulatory standards. Then we have involved also the Financial Investigations Unit, because ultimately they should be getting higher quality SAR reports from the participating banks. So they are advising what are the meaningful cases to be shared from the crime detection point of view. Then we have also the independent law agency who is helping to validate against the local legal environment the interests of all these parties. So like they're like an independent legal auditor of the whole process. And then it's not about organizations, but it's about how these organizations work together. So we created a high-level governance team which gathers all the senior representatives of each organization. And we created 3 working groups, one for resolving legal questions, another for technology, and third for the real crime detection scenarios. And these working groups come together regularly. They keep resolving problems and then finding out solutions. And that's why the AML Bridge Estonia program is progressing quite nicely. As I said, not only thanks to product, but also thanks to the organization that we created. So we have Swedbank and LHV and Luminor and SEB working. We are currently on halfway through the project. So first phase was to validate the concept and to get some interested parties to sign memorandum of understanding. The second phase is now ongoing, which is about picking the particular use cases, building technology, getting real commercial contracts signed, and then delivering the results by the March next year. And the last phase is that actually we need to start scaling it up on one hand into other countries. We see that this model can be applied really nicely in other countries, but then also with existing countries like Estonia, we're just like converting it into real commercial partnership where banks can actually start exchanging information on day-to-day basis. So this is where we are and what we're doing right now under the AML Bridge in Estonia.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Taavi. And I think it's great, obviously in Estonia, that you've been able to get the that whole community together, the PPP model that you discussed. Can you talk us through how that's helped, how it's helped having the FSA, the regulator perspective, the FIU perspective, and the data protection agency perspective to give you clarity about the legal basis for the sharing? Can you talk us through that?
Well, yes. Like on one hand, we involved included independent legal advisory firm already in the very early beginning. So all the arguments and plan that we outlined for the banks, but also for the legal government entities, they were based on 3 layers. Like one was the guidance, like high-level guidance, which is coming from the FATF and their recommendations. Then on the European level, European anti-money laundering directive recommendations, and then the local legislation here in Estonia. So we asked these lawyers to build together the arguments and story around it. So it was much easier for us to speak with FSA and data protection agencies. Second point was that like we really involved them before we started any real collaboration with the banks. So they felt that they were involved. They don't need to do the firefighting, but actually they were like included as equal partners for the banks. And that's what also banks appreciated, because banks and the government institutions, they have their own lawyers on both ends, and they felt that okay, it's like all their worries and concerns, they were able to call it out upfront, and we were able to, thanks to the organization that we set up, we were able to start resolving them.
Great, really interesting. Well, it's an exciting project, and I see obviously you have your ambition in that next stage to go international or into other countries, the UK. So be excited to keep pace with that growth and your experience, and also the growing evidence about how this is helping financial institutions at the end of the day identify risk and getting that information through to FIUs. Taavi, thank you so much for talking us through that today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for inviting, and I'm really excited to see how we're progressing, and also how all different other initiatives are progressing across the world. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Taavi. Thanks.